자, 그럼 지금부터 기조 강연을 진행하도록 하겠습니다. 이노바 마켓 인사이트의 CEO 패트릭 매니언님께서 글로벌 식품 트렌드 전망을 주제로 발표를 진행하시겠습니다.
Hello, I'm Patrick Mannion. I'm the Managing Director of Innova Market Insights, and I'm very happy to be here today to present to you our top 10 trends for 2022. 2022 is almost here. And as you know, trends reflect what consumers are thinking about, what concerns them, what they see in the media, all the stimuli and impulses they get. And they're very essential for marketeers because it very much influences the claims they make on the front of the pack and what consumers see on the shelf when they look at all those facings and they eventually make that retail choice. This is our trend wheel that we make every year. I'm sure you're familiar with it because our colleague in Korea, John Kwan, makes such a big effort to present that at the various shows and exhibitions, which we all hope will be coming back next year. Here you can see our top 10 trends for 2022. Some of the key topics this year are around sustainability, plant-based, as well as trends that are amplified by the pandemic. Consumers now have more expectations from their eating occasions and what they expect from brands in terms of alignment with their values. And I'll now take you through each one of these trends. Brands are moving on from proclaiming their credentials to meeting a clear, agreed, and understandable measurement of their environmental and social impact. And that's a huge change. They need to work together and with consumers to build trust in the claims of a positive climate impact, ensuring universal acceptance of certifications and greater public faith in the transparency of their brand actions. This requires quick, clear, tangible, and trusted information combined with a product life story that stands up to scrutiny. One important insight from our top 10 trends this year is that health of the planet is now the top global concern. We've been talking about it for many years, and everybody knows it's really important. It's a big deal. But we did a study of 11,000 consumers for the past few years, and this year the number one global concern is health of the planet instead of health of the population. That's a big shift, and you will see that change reflected in the plant-based trend as well. Sustainability will not be the primary purchase driver for most consumers, but it might be the tiebreaker, and consumers will be thinking more and more about it. The planet had a lot of high-profile environmental challenges over the past 2 years, such as fires in Australia, floods in Europe and the USA, and droughts in many places. This will continue to impact how consumers think about what they consume. And we've done some research as part of our macro trends work. And we can see from this that consumers are focused on doing things that are in their control, such as reducing food waste. We know Korea, for example, has been a huge leader and an inspiration in this space. And consumers are trying to limit what they consume. One thing to keep in mind is that consumers tell us there are too many environmental labels, and it's difficult to know what to focus on. 64% of consumers say they would like one label that captures it all. The takeaway is that it should be more simple, and here we identified a few ways for companies to build trust in their brands and help consumers do their part for allowing transparency to triumph. One example is connecting with consumer. An example is Unilever's Vegetarian Butcher created a tool so consumers can calculate their environmental impact of eating less meat. Isn't that exciting? Another one is redefining existing communications channels. And the Nutri-Score label is becoming more widespread in Europe, very much associated with the French food industry. And the Eco-Score label could help make it more simple to understand the environmental impact. A third way is to use measurable cues to enhance comparability. And I think all these are very well illustrated here. The second trend I'd like to focus on is plant-based. the canvas for innovation, if you like. And this has been at the top of our trends for the past 3 years. And this year, we predict this trend to develop more sustainably or substantially, I might add. With personal health and global sustainability key drivers of consumer choice, plant-based R&D has refocused from mimicking to optimizing options that stand on their own merits. A desire for diet variation is increasing interest in plant-based beyond the traditional vegan and vegetarian sectors, and from convenience foods to gastronomy. People are looking for quality alternatives to meat, as well as fish and dairy. The sector is now more than an alternative. It is the canvas for innovation. One of the biggest takeaways here is the chart on the bottom left on my slide. And here we can see the planet shift from 3 to 2 for reasons that consumers would consider plant-based products. And that aligns with what we saw in the first trend today. I would say that plant-based has been on our top trends for the past few years, but we now expect to see a big change in the type of innovation we see in plant-based and all the products offered around us. We are well past making products that are just simple substitutes for meat or milk. And new developments will also include whole muscle foods, like the sushi you can see here in the picture. 1/3 of consumers would not buy plant-based products because of poor taste and texture from our research. And we're seeing more innovation now with a culinary approach. There are top chefs around the world that are focused on plant-based menus that will help change consumer ideas about what is possible. Roquette, a French supplier, is a big company, a big supplier in this space in food ingredients, and their plant proteins have a focus on gastronomy at their new French protein center. One other thing we see happening is an increase in plant-based products with indulgent claims. At the recent Anuga, we saw plant-based chilled desserts, for example, and more premium ice creams. So we expect to see many more innovative plant-based products coming on stream and being available. Our trend number 3, we call this tech to table. And I think it's very interesting. Developments in technology have changed every aspect of the food and beverage industry, from conception to consumption. While innovators embrace new product methods, consumers turn to apps and artificial intelligence for personalized nutrition and a greater understanding of how to fulfill their needs. Myths and misunderstandings are crumbling, and the key is to communicate honestly and openly with consumers to ensure their continued trust in the advance of food technology. We've taken a very broad definition of tech, which I'll include cell-based, which is lab-grown, with a focus on mainstream optimization. Tangibility, if you like, of the trend would be a good way to explain it. Another one is the use of CRISPR on the cell genetic side, consumer acceptance and use of new technology, and thoughtful communication through social media is another element in this mix. We include 3 examples of different impacts of technology in food. One is the rapid development of cellular-based foods. Another is protein derived from air. And finally, an app that helps consumers track glucose levels in their food so they can make good choices. To make sure that consumers open up about novel technologies, communication is vital. Celebrity endorsements can help to get consumers on board and be more willing to see the possibilities of technology. This can also help get the consumers on board who are not already intrinsically motivated about changing the food system. 50% of consumers tell us that they think that cell-based technologies can be the future of the food industry. And that's a remarkable insight. Trend number 4 now is called shifting occasions. And that's, if you like, a way of talking about the change we've been seeing in eating occasions. And this has been amplified, obviously, by the COVID pandemic. Lockdowns and the pandemic reshaped existing eating occasions, but at the same time helped create new ones. Consumers have a greater awareness of the comforts and possibilities of home, so seek more from going out. Industry leaders will be pushed to better serve evolving consumption occasions, creating products geared to the new expectations of a public whose social habits have been challenged by the pandemic. Here you can see some of the shifts we have seen with in-house and out-of-home, as well as in retail and food service. We see some food service brands now sold in retail. Oatly, for example, has launched more than 20 years ago, but powered its mainstream success through association with coffee in the USA. And 50% of consumers tell us they want to try new food delivery concepts, including drone delivery. And I'm sure you've seen that on the TV and all the futures-oriented programs. Trend number 5 is called voice of the consumer. And I can tell you that 75% of consumers think companies should listen to consumers more when developing new products or flavors. Consumers are calling the shots and expect to be engaged with brands through digital and real-world channels, co-creating products that suit a need. People are looking for food and beverages that align with political, social, or ethical values. If they can't find them, entrepreneurial consumers are taking action to fill the gap themselves, satisfying specific market niches. The European Institute of Innovation and Technology, for example, are facilitating innovation between Gen Z, consumers, and the food sector to help design a food system that young consumers feel connected to. There are other strategies to connect with the consumer and make them feel empowered. One example is Taika, opening up the communication channels. They put their phone number for text messages on the front of the can. I think that's very interesting. Another is Cadbury, more and more products where consumers can choose which version will stay, more about giving consumers the feeling of being heard and being involved with the product. And finally, beneath the surface, from Nestle, Nestle received much backlash about using palm oil. They are not on track in terms of their own commitments, but beneath the surface is their attempt to explain to consumers that it's a much more complex problem than simply making the choice not to use palm oil anymore. In the questionnaire, they educate consumers about the complexity of the issue while presenting some dilemmas where consumers can make the choice. Consumers are demanding a bigger voice in the food industry. We're moving along to gut glory. And in previous presentations, when I've had the occasion to speak to the great audience in Seoul, we talked about the gut biome. And we know that the biome has the potential to be a game changer in personal whole health management. Consumers too are starting to understand the link between their gut health and overall mental and physical well-being. Connecting ingredients that boost the gut microbiome with those that target other areas offer holistic solutions to multifaceted concerns. If it's good for the gut, it's helping the whole system. 2/3 of consumers tell us they think gut health is key to achieving holistic well-being, because consumers think that gut health is also related to immune health, their energy levels, better sleep, and improved mood. There's so many examples and so many health experts. You can find them on the internet, on YouTube, and this has dawned on so many people. So it's becoming a very big theme. The super loaf bread you can see here contains 3 types of fiber: soluble, insoluble, and fermentable fibers. And they're all to promote better gut health. Consumers' understanding and acceptance of food ingredients is key to the development of the gut health trend. Here we asked consumers about a range of ingredients to see which ones they were familiar with. You can see that on the x-axis, and also how effective they thought the ingredients were for gut health, plotted on the y-axis. You can see that fiber scored highly on both of these. The size of the bubble represents the number of product launches we are tracking with a gut health claim and the ingredient. You can see that probiotics and prebiotics were less familiar to consumers. Probiotics, a topic we are beginning to hear more about in the industry, appearing on the bottom left of my slide. Trend number 7 is back to the roots, where consumers continue to find local products very appealing. Local products are attractive for both environmental and economic reasons. More consumers are interested in supporting the local economy, from frequenting nearby consumers, suppliers rather, to becoming stakeholders in community interests. Whether acting on nostalgic feelings, seeking natural ingredients, or sticking to the familiar, lesser traveled products bring to mind authenticity as well as freshness and the feel-good factor. There is always more than one way to take inspiration from a trend. For example, if you are a large company, it might be difficult to source local products at scale, but the ingredients you are sourcing are local to someone and somewhere. There are always ways to provide a connection to what you are using or producing in a meaningful way. The Mexican beverage here, you see, is a modern version of a traditional beverage. They also provide a connection to an authentic flavor and a particular place. This one is important for Mexico to the United States, and it represents a good example of how you can use the back to roots trend as a source of inspiration in your product development. It's very interesting to contemplate number 8, which is amplified experiences. It's a trend that has been, to some extent, to a significant extent, driven by COVID. After so long being locked down and with the threat not over, consumers are excited to experience something new. Consumers are hungry for novel food and beverage experiences as part of a quest to live life to the fullest. Celebratory moods are spurring excitement and wacky NPD ideas, with many companies dipping their toes into new sectors or teaming up for unexpected collaborations. Unilever, in this example, used flavors inspired by locations in the world that were combined with promotion in their vintage-looking travel posters. And Coors, the brewer, took their hard seltzer and turned it into an ice cream. And Budweiser flavor can now be found in a popcorn in the UK. All these flavor turns the eating experience into something more fun and exciting. I want to talk about upcycling, which is entering into our trends at number 9. And of course, it is a trend related to sustainability. More than 1/3 of consumers say that upcycled ingredients make a product more appealing. Ingredients which were once considered waste are being given a new lease of life as the circular economy makes its mark on the food and beverage industry. Brands need to be creative in the ways they promote their upcycling and recycling credentials, ensuring the message is both authentic and positive. There is now an official upcycled certification, and there should be around 250 products certified by the end of this year. Another example here is the use of upcycled coffee grounds used in personal care products. Upcycling is becoming more mainstream. We see rapid growth in food waste and or upcycling claims appearing on products. Consumers say these products are appealing because they are more sustainable and healthy. You can see an example of a meat analog that was made using upcycled or organic waste, and we expect to see a lot more innovation in this space in the coming months and years. Trend number 10 is my food, my brand. Food has never been more trendy. One of the top topics on Instagram is food. Choices around food and beverages are now signals of entire lifestyles, with personal values acting as a significant prompt for purchasing decisions. Consumers want to see their identities reflected in food and beverages, and vice versa. This opens opportunities for companies to tailor their offerings to project a personal feel, providing an outlet for expression as well as identity. Here you can see that non-food related values and beliefs are now expected and reflected in a product or brand positioning. And these products reflect beliefs and values instead of consumption-related preferences. I would like to close by showing that trends grow over time, and many trends are interconnected. Trend number 3 today, for example, tech to table, builds on trends from previous years, tailored to fit and nutrition hacking in the past. As we move to more personalized nutrition and the tools that help make this possible, technology continues to play a more important role in not driving innovation, but also changing the way consumers make decisions about their foods. And as I showed earlier, the plant-based trend continues to develop. At some point, it will go the way of clean label. We talked about the clean label for 15 years. Indeed, we were the first to do it. And for the past 5 years, we've been saying it's not a trend anymore. It's that the rules have been rewritten. I think we're definitely going to see that very same thing with plant-based and also sustainability over time. The shifting occasions trend is also being developed for the past few years and has made, I think, a big jump forward due to COVID. Consumers have been seeking out products that fit into their busy lifestyles and have come to expect that they can have anything they want, anywhere they want, anytime they want it. I want to thank you for your attention today. It is a great privilege to address such an esteemed audience of professionals as we're meeting today in Korea. I hope that everyone has gotten some inspiration as you listened today. We realize that trends are also very local, but we study what is happening on a global industry level and also what's happening locally. Send you our local insights. We look at what products are being launched, how the supply chain is developing, and what consumers are doing. You know, we have a network of researchers in over 90 countries, and we're able to help you with your innovation wherever and whenever that might be. I want to thank you for your attention, and I look forward to presenting to you again in the near future. Thank you very much, and have a very good day.